is the understanding when it comes to interpersonal communication. Rose, what do you understand? Your personally, when you say interpersonal communication, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, interpersonal communication is what I will not know what I understand about, because I didn't join on in the first. I didn't join on time, but when we talk
Oh,
of
yeah,
communication,
I've
yes.
not started. I've just started. I was waiting for people to join.
Okay,
So,
okay, okay. Okay,
so I mean,
communication.
generally, interpersonal. When
Yeah,
someone says,
yeah. Generally, in care, when we talk of communication, it's system of communicating and interacting with our clients in the workplace, with our colleagues in the workplace, and whoever that comes across our way. Um, we have a lot of means of communication. We communicate through sign language. We can communicate through visual. We can communicate through various ways of communication. And so interpersonal, some like it's just kind of knowing how to communicate with individuals. Like everybody, people have different individuals have different way of communication. Some communicate through sign language. Some communicate through visually looking at somebody's face. Some communicate through giving sign with their hand or any other means. And so it's a kind of knowing fully what kind of way do we need to communicate with that particular person at that particular moment. So to my understanding, it's just communication is just communication, why I understand it.
so
Whichever
that's
way
fine.
it can be written, it can be through written, it can be verbally, it can be um like text messages, it can be email, it can be so many ways. Whichever way that we can
That's fine.
use to communicate for somebody to understand what we are talking.
That's fine. So, point one noted. So, um, yeah. So on this particular lecture, we're not looking at communication as in general, but we're narrowing it to interpersonal communication. Now, we all agree that when we talk about interpersonal, it's more to do with your personal way of communicating, which we should understand or we should come to terms that it may differ from individuals, isn't it?
Exactly.
It may differ. So these are the things you are going to look, and those are the things that create barriers in communication. You understand? Those are the things. For somebody may speak and his communication is full of jargons, but the other person may not understand the meaning of the jargons. You understand me?
Mm.
So our style of communication differs from each other. And this is what brings us to what we call interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is largely focused on transmitting information from one person to another. The different communication of knowing and not knowing the necessary facts affects communication. There are four communications of information known and unknown by self and others. One, the arena, the area most conducive to effective interpersonal relations and communications. Two, all information known to both the sender and the receiver. So there's always that sender and receiver when it comes to communication. And then three, the blind spot. Information is known to receive, but not to the sender. So information received, but not to the sender. And selective perception is related to a blind spot of problems. And then we look at the facade. Information known to sender, but not known to the receiver. So information known to the sender is not known to the receiver. So that can create a problem. And then the unknown, information which is unknown by everyone. These are very crucial things when it's not known by both the sender and the receiver. So these are some of the few things that we need to take note, but not most relevant. Then let's go further and look at interpersonal communication can be improved by using exposure, open and honest in sharing information. Feedback, sender must listen and receive must respond. Sender must listen and receiver must respond. So the sender must listen, receiver must respond what has been passed on. Okay, and this is what makes communication. So listening attentively helps in improving our communication skills. You don't assume But if you listen carefully, you realize that you've gotten the right information signal so you can give the right response and communication. You clearly said it. You explained. So this is a bit straightforward. You spoke about the types of communication. You spoke about verbal communication, which is more oral, communication. You spoke about the other types, but oral, what kind of communication? We all know oral could be the verbal ones, could be telephone calls. And what are the benefits? When oral loudly, you can hear them. You can use any other forms to present your oral. So it's clearly it. But there can be a result in poor communication with the oral, and that could be not well thought out, not clearly encoded, the noise in the process. So because probably you're speaking oral and you are very loud, the raw information that you're sending across may not, because it comes with noise. It comes with noise. So people, especially people who are angry or upset, when they are talking, sometimes they get annoyed and it's loud, and people will not get the raw signal very well. Okay? Then
Okay.
let's look at written communication. The major key benefit is that the written one, the sender think about the message, reread it, have other reviews about it, and provide a record of the communication. So the written one, you read yourself, you write them, you read them, and before you pass information on. But what may be the major drawback? What will be the major demise? Will be that it takes more time to prepare, because if you're writing a communication, it takes time to prepare, even though there's no interaction, but you need time to prepare the kind of thing you're saying now, so you don't say a rubbish stuff outside to another person. Okay. Then lastly, you spoke about the non-verbal, where it involves gestures, you know, face, body language, and all forms of ways of communication, which is not verbal, which is not a written one. So we'll have to look into communication breakdowns. Now, it says that problems occur both in formal organization and interpersonal communication. Breakdown can occur whenever any of the elements of communication is defective. Sender encoding, medium decoding, receiver feedback. So breakdown can occur whenever any of the elements of communication is defective. When any of them is defective, then you can look into that. But breakdown can occur when any of the elements of communication is defective. Those are the things, yeah. And then conflict frames of reference, where people interpret the same communication differently depending on their previous experiences. Okay, on their previous experiences. Then we can look into selective perception, when there's a perception that people block out information if conflicts with what they believe. The information they are casting, they think doesn't make sense because they have certain perception about you or about the information that you are passing on. Then we look at to value judgments. People assign on overall worth to a message prior to receiving the entire communication. Value judgment. People assign on an overall worth to a message prior to receiving the entire communication. Very key to that. Very, very important. People assign an overall worth to a message prior to receiving the entire communication. Okay, Rose, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, then we continue. We have to look at the status differences. Status in the organization is defined by position, your title, your pay, the office, and your size. Okay, so because somebody may be a manager, he may feel very bossy in communication to the subordinate. So those can affect communications as well. The security of it. Security of the channel is an increasingly important consideration for employees. Security of the channel is an increasingly important consideration for the employees. So security must be topmost priority for the employees, and therefore communication towards those should be clearly defined for all to see and understand, whether written or verbal, or through whatever gestures or any form. source credibility, the amount of trust, confidence, and or faith the receiver has in the words and actions of the communicator. Okay. The confidence, who you are. So we spoke about perception. So what they think, who you are, gives a lot of confidence. If you are somebody who is consistent, saying something and you don't deliver, then obviously the receivers will have a certain perception about you. They don't have confidence in whatever you communicate to them. So that becomes a problem. You might be a manager, but you don't really commit to what you say. So it helps against communication. And then we can have time pressures. Managers don't have time to communicate frequently for every subordinate, of course. Manager may be dealing with huge registered manager, huge number of people, and therefore it can affect your way of communication. You may not have that much time to communicate with your subordinates. Information overload. Managers often are deluged by information and data. It's also a problem. It's huge. It's a huge problem. Managers are often deluged by information and data. So lack of information becomes a problem. And the semantic problems. The same words may mean entirely different to different people. Again, it is the way, the format of you communicate. What you say may be different to how people understand. It might be your accent, it might be the kind of words you use, it might be the jargons you use, may not be clearly understand. It might be that you talk very fast and people don't understand. Okay. Then you have to look into poor listening skills. Most individuals listen at only 25% level of efficiency, and that's true. So you need to diverse and come up with things that you can improve on those ways that people can listen more. To become a better communicator, managers must improve their messages through improve their own understanding of what other people are trying to communicate. Effective listening, very important. Effective listening. Managers must listen with understanding. Okay. And following up, managers should attempt to determine whether their intended meaning was actually received. And this is what we call feedback. You have to ensure that what you passed on as a manager has been received by your subordinate, your deputy, and the other carers. And how do you know that? By the feedback, by what they do. What they do. Are they complying with what you said? These are things that will give you a better informed knowledge of to ensure that what you've said has really gone down, okay? And well understood. Regulatory information flow. Only significant deviations from policies and procedures should be brought to the managers. Okay. Only significant deviations from policies and so managers are quite busy. You are quite busy, and therefore it should be only relevant staffs should be re-communicated or relayed to you at your office, not any other thing, but relevant and related to policy should be sent to you. Okay. Utilization feedback. Managers should determine whether their messages have been received and if they have been produced the intended responses. I mentioned that earlier. Empathy. Managers should put themselves into other person's role and assume the few viewpoints and emotions of that, of course. And it is good for managers who have gone through as a support worker, team leader, and before becoming a manager. They do understand the rudiments. They do understand the ropes. They do understand the in and out of the business because they've gone through the rope. They were a support worker. And they always put themselves in the shoes of the carers. Okay. Then we have simplifying language. I've mentioned that the language should be very simple that anybody else will understand. Not language, not big words, no jargons. Okay. The organizational stories. Using narrative allows managers to forge relationships with diverse audience, well beyond those afforded by a technical agreement. Using narrative allows managers to forge relationships with diverse audiences, well beyond those afforded by technical agreements. Okay, so using narrative. So it means that you have to be very, very engaging, using examples and all that. It helps engage. It arouses the audience, your staffs, to listen to you more and then pay attention and do things right. Okay. So these are important things that we need to note when it comes to communication, effective communication, or managing communication relative to LO3, which is interpersonal communication. Okay. Or Rose, do you have anything to say or any contribution?
No, I have nothing to say.
So it's a bit straightforward. However, it has two sides of it. These lectures have why the communication, breakdown of communications, and then interpersonal communication, and then how you can improve upon. So these are your areas of questioning. What are the breakdowns of communication? How can you improve it? And what is interpersonal communication? And these are where your questions will be around. Okay, so three things we're looking at: interpersonal communication. Why do you have communication breakdowns? And then why and how to improve those communication breakdowns. Okay. And we've said things like what? How do we improve? Be simple in your languages, gather feedbacks, don't use jargons, So these are all things that we have to look into. And then the communication breakdowns is huge, when somebody feels a superior and does not really communicate very well to another person. So these are things that we have to look into and ensure that they are done according to what communication mode of styles talks about. But interpersonal, we said that it differs from each other. So your way of communication may be different. You might be loud in your way of communication. Somebody may be very soft in their way of communication. However, because you might be loud, sometimes people may not hear you well, and you might be putting out noises. So you look at all those things as a manager and re-examine yourself and make sure that you are communicating very well for people to understand and getting feedbacks. These are the essential things when it comes to managing communication within the healthcare sector. Okay. Rose, any question?
No, no question. But one of the question I wanted to ask is, what if okay, interpersonal communication, maybe the communication, let me say something like what some people when they are saying something you may not like oral one. It's not, let me not just limit to oral interpersonal. What if the manager is trying to tell somebody something and you're not understanding the way he speaks? Because some people, when they speak, you don't understand what they say. And when you come back to ask them again, they get offended. So how do we, what in that situation, what can we do?
If you want to communicate with a manager who who easily get offended for the very things that you don't understand, I believe that there are ways you can go about it. If verbal communication doesn't work, you can diverse a different way of written communication. Okay, you can look into a written communication. And for instance, if a well-planned manager should be having regular appraisal meetings where people can share their issues and what's going on in the company. So you could also voice out your concerns through those meetings. However, if there's a deputy who is listening and who is nice, then you can finally go to a deputy or find a team leader or a team coordinator that you can communicate with them on that and probably they'll be able to do the issue from their end. So you have to look at alternatives people that you deem that they do not get upset like the manager and then they them come and then they can take this on their side.
Okay.
Yes, those for my advice to you. So if the manager is not a listening type and all, he gets upset. Look for deputy or look for a team leader or any other person and pass on information to the person.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I said that's fine. We'll look for
And then
deputy.
if there is, you can also find out somebody who is close to that manager or wherever you can pass on information to that person as well.
Okay.
Yeah. But it is not right for a manager to do that in any case. It's not right. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So please do get back to me, okay? All right. Take care. All the best.
Mm.
All the best. All the best.
Are we done with today?
We are. Yeah.
We're done.
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
What's the next meeting?
You should be able to get. I will check and send a message on the group. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll send a message to you on the group. I'll check.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we have LO4, right?
Huh?
I think we have LO4, so I'll check.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. So,